Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Vincent coming to you live from sunny, beautiful Asheville, North Carolina. Got some errands to run today, so I'm heading into the city, coming down the mountain. It is absolutely, absolutely glorious. Pristine weather. It's been insane here over the last couple of days, especially as we approach July 1st with just how cool it's been. But that's not really what you want to hear about. So we have had tremendous response and requests for additional episodes related to credit repair. Now, if you're not familiar with this, I spent 12 years in financial services and mortgage banking, and I have seen more credit reports than I care to remember, and I've repaired more credit, my own included, than I care to remember, because my livelihood and obviously the conveniences of my life depended on that. And this is a very hot topic that most people don't understand, and there's a reason for that. That's because of the way the system is set up. The system is designed, and I don't want to sound, psychotic here, but the system is designed not to work for you in your favor. I'm sure you guys are already aware of that. But nonetheless, there have been tons of requests for more information on credit repair, so we're going to go ahead and get into that. Now, there's a ton of information to cover, so I'm going to be breaking these up into shorter segments so that we can kind of dive into a singular topic and cover that. And the very first one, or the very next one here I'm going to do right now, is on how the system works, because you've heard me say things before like, okay, if you have derogatory items on your credit report, or really any item on your credit report, you don't owe the money. And people are like scratching their head like, what do you mean I don't owe the money? I signed for the loan, I got the car, I got the house, I got the credit cards, I bought stuff, got the cell phone. Yes, I do owe the money. And the answer to that question is no, you don't. You think you do, but you don't. And the reason that you don't is because you don't understand the system. And I'm going to show you how the system works, okay? And we're going to do that, like I said, in bite-sized chunks going forward. We just had, if you guys didn't see this in the group, it was an unbelievable testimonial from Cheryl Williams, who followed the instructions I laid out in the first credit repair episode. She got the free documents that we have on the website for debt validation and debt investigation and the dispute letters. And then she also followed, thankfully for her, the episode I did called The Stupid Test, because guess what they did? They tried to give her the stupid test. But nonetheless, she got something like, and if I remember correctly, I want to say in the first round, 18 of 26, I believe it was, derogatory accounts removed on her own personal report, and 11 of 12 on her husband's, okay, just by sending one letter, okay? Well, it's like I've said before, when we did Sarah and we got 28 of 31 removed in 69 days, all she had to do was send 2 simple letters, and the key was knowing what letters to send and who to send them to. And that was the debt validation and debt investigation letters that we provide free on the website. So, nonetheless, I just want you guys to understand, this stuff works, but you got to understand what the law is, because the law, they don't want you to understand the law. That's why there are credit repair companies and scam credit repair companies like Lexington Law out there, that they do everything they can to try to mask and conceal reality. But it's all out there in the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the Fair and Accurate Transactions Act, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. It's all there, but nobody really condenses it down, because everybody wants to make money and monopolize off the education component, which I've done myself. I had a very successful credit repair course called Credit Repair College. It was a website I took people through. That was the basis for all of our people that are going through the rent-to-owner financing deals that needed to get qualified for conventional financing. It was all forced play, so they had all the information and were required to do it as a component of the contract, so that we knew that they were going to be getting their credit in shape to get qualified for financing during the balloon term. And so now I just give the information away for free. So here you go. Now, I got to preface this. Maybe I'll do it after the break. So let's just go ahead and get going.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Here we go!
This is the Virtual Real Estate Investor Podcast with Vincent Polisi.
Buckle your seatbelt and prepare to learn how to legally make six figures investing in real estate with no money, no credit check, and nothing but a computer and internet connection. Learn how you too can begin generating buyers and sellers for free today, and why you're only 2 calls away from making a $10,000 or more payday while never leaving the comfort of your home. And now, your host, the virtual real estate investor, Vincent Polisi.
All right, guys, here we go. Once again, Credit Repair 2.0, Episode 2. Why is credit repair important if you're in real estate investing? How does this apply? Well, 98% of all purchase transactions nationwide, 98% involve some type of mortgage finance, and almost all mortgages, as you guys know, require a certain degree of credit and a credit report, unless you're doing some type of private money asset-backed thing, which hardly exists for that type of deal. But for the standard retail deal, the standard investor purchase, 98% of those nationwide involve a mortgage, 98%. So credit is extremely important. Now, they've got everything set up so that you can't understand the system, and I'm going to go ahead and explain to you how the system works, because I know you're like me, maybe you're not, I don't know, but, you ever just kind of sit there and think to yourself, this whole system that we're in is kind of weird, and this is, the way things are set up don't seem to be necessarily in my best interest, the way they have things put together with the federal laws, the tax, income tax, the tax laws, the way things are set up. If you really analyze it, most of the stuff is not set up in your favor. And many things that are out there are set up to intentionally mask and conceal and disguise what reality is, because they can't afford for the masses to understand this information. Okay, they just can't. You disrupt control of the masses if they understand what's going on. So we're going to go ahead and get into some of this now. I'm going to go ahead and clarify this up front so everybody understands. Okay, they say that people that are insane don't know they're insane. Right? And that's how you can tell if somebody's insane or not. They're not aware of the fact that they're a total lunatic. So I'm going to tell you in advance that I know, okay, and I agree that everything that I'm about to tell you sounds completely psychotic. Okay? I get that. I totally agree with you. It's not some, phantom belief that I derived out of nowhere, some conspiracy theory. It's all fact-based, based on tons of due diligence and research, and actual stuff I've done in court and everything else. So you'll see exactly how this stuff works. But it's going to sound insane to you if you're not aware of how reality works, how this system works, what it's based on. Why do things work the way they do? You don't know. Most of you have no idea. You're going about your business every day, totally blind in the Matrix. It's just like the movie The Matrix. Most people have no clue what reality is all about, okay, or what their impression of reality is all about. And we're going to dive into that here. And I'll show you exactly how it all relates to credit repair so that you can understand how to get a lot of this stuff eliminated legally. Okay, legally, that's the key there, legally. And when I tell you don't owe money to somebody on a credit report, why, based on the law, you actually legally do not. Okay, that's the key component here. We're going to talk about doing things legally. There's a big difference between legal and lawful, and we'll get into that. We're going to do everything legally, so there's no issues. Now, once again, I have to, this entire compendium of work in the podcast, I've stated this repeatedly, but let me restate it again so everyone understands. I am not providing, well, let me back up. I am required, by federal law to avoid getting arrested, to let you know and inform you that I am not an attorney and I am not providing legal advice, accounting advice, not a CPA, even though I know more than many attorneys and many CPAs, and that sounds probably pretty incredible, but we've done enough research. There's nothing that any of these guys know that you can't learn yourself. All the books are available in the law libraries, and now everything's online, so you can. There's nothing that they know that you can't learn on your own without having to go to 2, 4, 6 years of collegiate, quote unquote education to get a license. Now, having said that, this is for your entertainment and education purposes only. Do not advise that you do what I do, especially if you don't know what you're doing, because there are a lot of spider webs in this thing. And when you're first starting out and you're doing your due diligence to understand it, there are a lot of things that are interconnected and interweaved that you are not going to understand or even know about until you dig deeper. So, as I always indicate, due diligence is your friend. Education is your friend. Make sure you do your due diligence, vet everything that I'm about to tell you, so that you can verify and validate for yourself that I'm either accurate or inaccurate. Okay? So you never depend on anything anybody tells you until you go verify it on your own. So let's get into this real quick. Now, again, everything I'm about to tell you is going to sound totally insane. I get it. Trust me. I'm not saying I want it to be this way. I'm not saying it's a belief. It's not a belief. It's all well-documented fact, and I'll give you the resources so you can understand where I'm coming from. So let's talk about the system, because if you're going to understand why things work the way they do, and why these things I'm telling you as far as credit repair work, you've got to understand the system first. Otherwise, you're just blindly following along like you do with the debt validation and debt investigation letters that many of you are seeing now that work to legally remove derogatory items from your credit report, even if you falsely believe that you borrowed the money and owe the money. Okay? So we have to talk about the system first. Now, here's the problem with talking about the system. We are going to get involved in talking about things that are in the Bible, and I am not in this to get involved in a holy war, to preach religion, whatever. There are things that are dictated in the Bible, defined in the Bible, and it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what I believe. It doesn't matter what you think or believe. The people that control this system, they follow it like a playbook, line by line, okay? So I'm going to show you this right now so you can understand what the system is. We're going to try to keep these relatively short so I can jam out a bunch of these, and we'll go point by point on topic by topic. So let's talk about the system. What is the system? The system is the beast system of Revelation. Okay, Revelation 13. This is the system that you are in, whether you want to admit it or not. The money masters that control the world, they follow this. This is their guidebook for how things, well, it's not their guidebook, but this is the prophetic recognition of the system that they have been and are and have created, that you are in, whether you realize it or not. Okay, so this is not a religious episode by any stretch, but understand it for what it is. Revelation 13 defines the system that we're in. It's called the beast. Okay, and if you understand the Bible, it's a metaphor or an allegory for something. It's analogy. No, it's not an analogy. I think it's a metaphor. The beast is a system or kingdom. That's what it means. Okay. What is the beast system of Revelation? Well, if you read Revelation 13, it is a system, an economic system of commerce. That's what Revelation 13 is all about. It is about the system of commerce that we are in and what regulates it and how things will happen and go down, and they already are, exactly as defined in Revelation 13. So the beast of Revelation is the system that we're in right now. It is the economic system of commerce under the Uniform Commercial Code, the UCC, for those of you who know what that is, governed by what is called Maritime Admiralty law, which only governs corporations. Okay? That is the beast system of Revelation. We all live in it. Unfortunately, it's a system of commerce and regulation of that commerce. So when you go through and you're trying to understand and identify what's going on, everything is regulated by the UCC and Maritime Admiralty law. When you go into a court, okay, you think you're going into a common law court? No, you're not. I think you're going into a law of the land court? No, you're not. You're going into a Maritime Admiralty court. Okay? Maritime Admiralty Court, Maritime Admiralty law regulates corporations, because in the beast system, economic system of commerce that we are in, only corporations can transact and do business in that system. Okay? We'll get into all of this and explain exactly how it all works, but this is the system that you're in. And if you go through Revelation 13, it identifies exactly how everything is set up, and I'll explain it. It goes through and talks about, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on the right hand or in the forehead. Everybody knows about the mark of the beast, right? Well, most people never, you'll never understand or be told in church what it actually is and how it all functions and why. And I'm about to explain that to you, okay? So, causes all to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. No man can buy or sell, okay? Again, commerce, can't buy or sell, except he that has the mark, okay, the mark of the beast, the mark of the system, the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Okay, what does all that mean? Sounds like a bunch of gibberish, right? It sounds like psychotic Bible nonsense, right? Well, here it is in reality in the world that you live in. This is how things function. This is the beast system. So the mark on the right hand or in the forehead that has to be used in commerce, you're seeing this now. Those of you that are W-2 employees, you probably see all this in many of your jobs where you're now required to scan your thumbprint to log in. I see it everywhere I go nowadays. Okay? The mark on the right hand and in the forehead, these are biometric. Why are they biometric? I don't want to get back into a whole Bible study here, but they're biometric because these are the only two things that are non-invasive where they can identify an individual. Everything else has to be invasive. They got to get DNA, they got to get blood, they got to get something else, hair samples, whatever. They got to do something to you. But biometric, your fingerprint, you don't have one, nobody else has one like you. Your retina or iris, whatever you want to call it, same thing. Nobody has one like yours. They're all individualized. This goes all the way back to David and the census in the Bible, if you're into that kind of thing. And identifying people and tracking how many people there are and all that. That's what this is all about. So the mark in the right hand is the fingerprint. Okay? It's your fingerprint. And the mark on the forehead is your iris or retina. Okay? These are now being used, and have been for quite some time, in commerce. What do you do on your iPhone? I got an iPhone 7 right here, and an iPhone 6S Plus. And guess what they have on them? Fingerprint scanners so that I can pay with Apple Pay, right? Got a Samsung S8 Plus I just got last week. Guess what it has on it? Fingerprint scanner. Guess what else it has on it? I'm sure the iPhone 8 will have the exact same thing. It's got an iris scanner. Why? Why do we need this? Seriously. Got to have it so that I can pay with Android Pay or Samsung Pay, right? The mark on the right hand, that's your fingerprint. Mark in the forehead, that is your iris or your retina. Retinal scan must be used, and you will see here as they take this thing to a cashless society, which they are doing right now. Sweden's already there, totally cashless. Why are they doing that? Because that's how they control the slaves. Okay? That's why Revelation 13 talks about free and bond. Bond, who's the bond? Bond slaves? That's you. You don't realize it yet, but we'll explain to you how you've been bonded as a bondservant slave. That's why you pay income tax. Okay? Because you're a slave, unfortunately. I don't want it to be that way, but that's the reality. Your income tax is that's what part of this whole thing is all about, is controlling the slaves. So, as we go through this, all of this, again, falls under the Uniform Commercial Code and Maritime Admiralty law, because in the beast system, you must be a dead corporation to transact business. You don't think you're a dead corporation, you think you're alive, but you are not transacting in business as a live person. You're transacting as a corporation. So let's get to the next part. Next part we go into, okay, small and free and poor, free and bond, rich and poor, the name, mark of the beast, right hand, forehead, or the name of the beast, what's that, or the number of his name. Okay, so let's talk about what those two things are. The name of the beast, okay, The name of the beast, the system gave you, it is what is called your straw man corporation name, your straw man fiction name. You all have one, whether you realize it or not. It is your all capital letter name. There's a corporation that was formed with you, the IRS or whatever your regulating body is, that uses an all caps name. And why is it all caps? Again, we're going to get way off onto the deep end here. But it's all caps because in legal terminology, and you guys need to go look this stuff up, they are stripping away your rights at birth, okay, when they issue the birth certificate bond, and they collateralize the artificial debt with your life, labor, income, property, etc. That's what they're doing, okay? They've to pay off this fake debt, they've collateralized you. So the issue at your birth, what's called a birth certificate bond, go ahead and look at it. It's on bond paper. So it's a bond issuance. What is a bond? Bond is debt, right? So they collateralized you. They generated money that gets created into the system. Collateralized by you, the slave, okay? And they gave you a name. That's the name of the beast. And that name is, if your name is John Smith, it's all caps John Smith. Look this term up. It's called capitis diminutia. Okay, this means something in legal terms. It's Latin. They try to hide all this stuff in Latin so you don't understand what's going on. But you have an all caps fictitious corporation that, if you take a look at your credit cards, take a look at your debit cards, take a look at your checking accounts, take a look at all of your bills, your invoices from any major corporation. All caps. Why is that? You think they can't print lowercase letters on your credit cards? No, it has nothing. It's not you. It's the corporation, the strawman corporation that you're taking responsibility for unknowingly when you accept responsibility for the debt. Okay, it has nothing to do with you. It's a corporation. There's two different ways that you actually are set up in the B system here in the United States. You have to file the SS4 or the SS5, depending on whether you're filing for your 14th Amendment citizen, U.S. citizen, to get your benefits in the quote-unquote system, or your strawman corporation name. That's your all caps name. That's what transacts in the system. And that's how they have this whole thing set up. And it's totally psychotic. Trust me, I get it, right? But the whole purpose is to strip you of your rights and enslave you into the system where you now are paying your labor, paying tax on your labor, right? Giving money for a fake debt that does not exist. It was created out of thin air by the Federal Reserve Incorporated, okay? And now they want to control everything. They want total economic control over the slaves, because let me tell you something. If you're in the system and once this thing goes cashless, and you're an outspoken person and you're not going along with what the quote-unquote government, the criminal cartel known as government, says, you're not towing the party line, well, guess what they do? They just turn you off. Can't buy anything. Can't pay for anything. How about that? Right? They turn you off in the beast system and you're done. Can't buy groceries, can't buy gas, can't go to the doctor, can't do anything. Okay, and that's where this thing is going. It's where it's already at in Sweden right now. They've already gone totally cashless, which is insanity. But that's where things are, and this for total economic control over the citizenry, over the slaves. That's what they need to control you. Okay. So as we go through Revelation 13, let me break this down real quick. So we've got the mark, that's the fingerprint, and the iris or retina. You have the name, that's your corporate strawman name that they got on your birth certificate bond. Okay. And then we have to get into the number of the name. What's the number of the name? That's your slave identification number. Everybody's got one. You got a Social Security number. If you're in the U.S., you have a SIN. If you're in Europe, other locations have different things they call them. But to operate in the monetary policy, the economic system of commerce, again, you got to have that, and your corporations have to be set up with numbers as well, an EIN, a TIN, your employer identification number, tax identification number. Okay. That's the way it works, folks. Okay, it's a total economic control in the system, regulated under the Uniform Commercial Code, code and Maritime Admiralty law, which only governs and regulates corporations, and that's how you're able to function in the beast system that we live in, because you've got a strawman corporation individually, and then if you're doing business as a corporation, like we've all got LLCs or corporation S corps or whatever, once again, you've got to apply and get your number so you can do business in the system and get paid and pay taxes, get credit cards and debit cards and bank, right? That's how it works. So when you're talking about how things are set up in the system that you don't understand and how you don't really owe any money, because, well, there's no money in existence anyway, but how you don't owe these things that are on this, artificially created credit report, these quote-unquote debts that you think you have, it's because they're not yours. They belong to the strawman corporation, and you unknowingly and unwittingly take responsibility for them. And then when you go into court, you don't understand that it's not you that's being prosecuted. You've ever been prosecuted? Go take a look at the way the lawsuits and everything are set up. It's your, once again, it's your name. It's all capitalized. Why? Capitis Diminutia. It is your strawman corporation. It is not you. Okay? They cannot govern flesh and blood. Okay? The only way they do that is through artifice to make you take responsibility for the fictitious dead corporation, your strawman corporation. And that's how it functions. Okay? And that's how, when you hear me talk about some of the stuff and how I've been able to go to battle with attorneys, and we did this one thing where there was 8 attorneys working for a bank. I put together 3 motions and just absolutely decimated them. It's because I understand how the system functions and operates, what it operates under, who is under their jurisdiction, who is mentioned as the defendant. Okay? You need to understand all this stuff. If you want to, you don't have to understand anything. You just go on living your life, and ignorance is bliss. Trust me, the deeper we get into this, the less you're going to want to know, because it's ugly. It's insane. But it does, like I said, it doesn't matter if you believe this. This is not a religious conversation. I'm just telling you where it's identified. And this is how the system is set up right now. The international bankers have it set up that way because guess what? They are setting things up. That's where all your income tax money goes, if you guys don't know that. Your income tax, 100% of it, none of it goes for any kind of governmental service. It's not going for the military. It's not going for Social Security. Well, Social Security is different. It's a different theft and extortion. But your income tax is not going for the federal buildings, the courts, any of that kind of stuff. It doesn't do any of that. It pays the interest on the fake artificial debt to international bankers. Okay? So when you hear these idiots argue online about flat tax and who what's to pay for the roads and all this stuff, none of your income tax pays for any of this. Doesn't pay for the government, doesn't pay for the services, doesn't pay for the highways, doesn't pay for the military, doesn't pay. You guys need to go read the Constitution so you understand. It's all that stuff's been identified as to what's supposed to pay for what. It's corporate tax. Corporate tax. And the fact that the Congress has the ability to coin money debt-free, okay, as it used to be prior to 1914. And guess what? They can build out the entire infrastructure, the highways, pay for the military, do everything they need to do by simply spending that money into the system debt-free and not at interest. But they don't do that because back in 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was jammed through so they could create the federal income tax, and later in the U.S. bankruptcy that most of you probably don't know about because they don't teach you real history in school. What did they do? They created the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, which once again is not you. Okay? You think you're a U.S. citizen. You're really not a U.S. citizen. You're a U.S. citizen, you've got to live in the 10 square miles of Washington, D.C., which is the only thing, that's where the U.S. is, the 10 square miles. That's the only thing that they can regulate or govern. And people that live there, U.S. citizens. But they've convinced you to give up rights to enter into this beast system of commerce under the pretense of being a quote-unquote U.S. citizen. Not a sovereign citizen, but a U.S. citizen. You need to understand what that is. It's not what you think it is. Doesn't mean that you're a resident of the United States. Okay? It means that you're willingly engaging in the system and you're giving up rights for perceived benefits. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever other junk they try to tell you that there's some sort of benefit derived from the government. You need to understand that anything the government has is stole from somebody else. All taxation is theft at gunpoint. Okay? Whether there's a gun involved or not, that's how it works. So the government, all the money they've got has been stolen. Who'd they steal it from? You and me. Do it every single day. All these fake taxes and all this nonsense. So, as we get into the credit repair stuff, that's the basis for how the system works that we're in right now. Okay? And, sounds crazy. Trust me, I realize that. But that's the way it works. The courts do not work for you. They work for the banks. It's a revenue generation scheme. The police do not work for you. They are for-profit, privateer revenue generators. They're not here to protect you. They're not here to serve you. They are here to generate revenue. And that is what they do. They generate revenue and violate your rights in the process. Okay? So, that's how this system is set up, guys. Now, we'll get into a lot of the other credit repair stuff here. I'm going to cut this one off now because we've gone way too long. But that's the system that you're in. Like it or leave it. Doesn't matter. You don't have to believe it. That's it. That's how it works. These are the people that are in charge, the international bankers. They run all the countries, all the money, all the governments, all the military, all the media. Okay? It's all consolidated, consolidation of power. Why? Because they want to control you. Okay? They want slaves to keep their mouths shut and pay their taxes. Okay? Free money for them. That's the way the whole thing is set up. And it's set up that way exactly as Revelation 13 says. But you'll never hear that from your 501c3 for-profit church that you go to. They're not allowed to tell you under their agreement with the IRS. And yes, they have an agreement with the IRS. It's the 501c3 exemption so they can make money without paying tax on it. Because all churches are for-profit corporations, whether you think they are or not. But they're not going to tell you this stuff, guys. That's why you got to do your own due diligence and learn on your own. Do your research, do your education so you can understand, so you don't get roped into these things. You get called into court, somebody says you owe money, etc. You got to know what the game is. Like going to Vegas, okay? Right? Casinos make the rules, right? Well, same thing here. You're playing a game in a system that you don't understand because they don't want you to understand it, because if you understand it, they don't make money. So it's imperative to understand how the law really works and the fact that it doesn't apply to you. Statutes and codes, they only apply to corporations, if you guys don't know that. They do not apply to humans, flesh and blood people. Okay? They apply to corporations only. And that's why you have to have a corporation. Your straw man corporation, so they can govern you, right? Tax you, take your money. That's the sole purpose. Okay? Now they're going to take it a step further. Make sure you keep your mouth shut. You go entirely cashless and have you totally identified by your fingerprint and your retina, your tax ID number, your EIN, your SSN. You get out of line and you can no longer engage in the system. So, maybe the Amish have it right. I don't know, because they don't deal with any of this. Right? They're not worried about a cashless society because they're not in a society with cash. Right? They're not going out there and getting their fingerprint scan and their retina scan. Why the hell do they need their fingers? Scan your fingerprint and your retina. I mean, come on. Are you serious? You guys ever think about this stuff? There's a reason you're warned about this, because this is the system of how they are going to completely control and enslave the entire population of planet Earth. Okay, it was all written out years and years and years ago, and all you have to do is take a look at what's going on, and you can see that whether you believe in the Bible or not, what it says about this is 100% accurate, and you can verify it completely on your own. Okay, all right, there we go. Hope that was beneficial. We'll get into the next ones, and I'll show you how to get rid of a lot of this other stuff on your credit report. You guys have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Virtual Real Estate Investor Podcast with Vincent Polisi. If you found any value in this podcast, please use our Give to Get method and take a moment to give us a 5-star rating in iTunes and your favorite podcast service, so we can keep giving you excellent episodes of real content you can use to profit today.